Are you looking for a fun way to win up to 25 times your money this football and basketball season? Test your skills on Prize Picks, the most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Just select two or more players, pick more or less on their projections for a wide variety of stats, and place your entry. It's as easy as that. If you have the skills, you can turn $10 into $250 with just a few taps. Easy gameplay, quick withdrawals, and injury insurance on your picks are what makes Prize Picks the #1 daily fantasy sports app. Ready to test your skills? Join the PrizePicks community of more than 7 million players who have already signed up. Right now, PrizePicks will match your first deposit up to $100. Just visit prizepicks.com/bluewire and use code BLUEWIRE. That's code BLUEWIRE at prizepicks.com/bluewire for a first deposit match of up to $100. PrizePicks, daily fantasy sports made easy.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Pod Mavericks Presents Group Therapy. My name is Kirk Henderson. I'm editor-in-chief over at MavsMoneyball.com, and we are hosting what will be our hopefully regular Friday afternoon show here, doing a little live show like we used to do in the green room. Had one last Friday that was shockingly fun with our friends overseas joining in the middle of the day, which is great. I really want you guys to participate here. I'm going to post the link here in the comments and pin it. Should have done that beforehand. But give me just a second here. And so it's been kind of an uneventful week, I think, in Mavs land. I really had no idea what I was going to be talking about on the show at all until yesterday when the Dallas Mavericks ended up closing out, not the Mavericks, the Milwaukee Bucks ended up getting closed out by the Heat. And so, here we are, because after, Giannis had quite the day in terms of being online, where everyone really loved his thoughtful answer about failure. And I felt like a crazy person, but opted to not comment on it whatsoever, because there's really no upside in that regard to just talking about these sorts of things whenever it's not your team involved, that sort of thing. Hello from Germany. That's fantastic. Ruff, I did not know that you were over there. We need to get our Slovenian friends here as well. Anybody that wants to talk or ask any questions, but I'll pick back up what I was rambling on here about in a second. I see Hyperion waiting in the chat. We're going to pull him up here in just a second. But, Mark Cuban kind of had some odd thoughts related to Giannis's answer. And he said, great response, Giannis. This response should be required viewing for every sports media member and journalism teacher and student. Headline-seeking questions that look good in a tweet are what sports media has devolved to far too often. And in, just a shocking turn of events, Dallas Mavericks owner Mark Cuban is wrong, because he doesn't understand how content functions in this day and age. And I just kind of wanted to talk about his comments for a second, because, the Dallas Mavericks sports media has some people that I love, some people I don't get along with, but every single one of them goes to work and works hard. I really want that to be out there. It's not easy going up and asking questions. And one of the things that drives me nuts about this is that the notion that the question is the problem. And I can assure you the question is not the problem. It's the answer. Luka Doncic, for example, we all love Luka. Luka doesn't like talking to the media, doesn't really like giving detailed answers, because there's not a lot of good that can come out of detailed kind of narrative related questions. Grant Afseth does a good job at asking basketball questions in relation to things that he sees on the floor. But a lot of times these guys don't actually want to answer questions. Friend of the show, Matt Moore, or enemy of the show, Matt Moore, depending on your point of view, once told me a story about how he asked Kevin Durant a question about basically asking him to explain something and why he did the thing that he did on the court in a particular way. And Durant basically told him to pound sand, that he wouldn't understand because he's not a basketball player. And that sentiment from basketball players is actually a lot more widely held than you can believe, if you'll grant me that, because these guys are superstar athletes. They do stuff kind of on instinct. The explanation of how they do a lot of things, for some guys, getting into the weeds of why they do what they do isn't interesting to them. And so, of course, Cuban goes on to share some hokum nonsense from Chat GPT, where he goes and asks, you are an NBA sports reporter. You are asking questions to the star of the top rated team of the conference that just lost a first round playoff series to a lower seeded team. What questions will you ask him? And proceeds to share that sort of thing with comments like, this AI could get a job in the business. Now, that shit killed me. Because one of the reasons that ESPN's that he refers to himself as Banned McMahon, was so removed from the American Airlines Center credentialing process for a while, was because Mark Cuban was trying to make a point about future AI stuff that was coming. Like, he thought that AI write-ups and things like that were going to basically remove the media from the process, and that they weren't going to be able to like, sports coverage would basically go away, and then sports would kind of go, start to go away as a result. It was a really weird argument. It was like 6 or 7 years ago. But now, of course, Cuban likes computer generated AI because he's getting criticism from the local media. And if you're getting criticized by the locals, then therefore you can't, we got to get the media on out of here. Of course, that led to friend of the show, my co-host and co-editor over at Mavs Moneyball, Josh Bowe, seeing this, getting kind of pissed off, going to Chat GPT himself and asking Chat GPT, I am the owner of the Dallas Mavericks. One of my best young players, Jalen Brunson, is a free agent. He has been offered a large contract by the New York Knicks. My only option is to outbid the New York, or I lose this player for nothing, setting my team back during a critical stretch where I want to be a contender. What should I do? Should I re-sign Brunson? And the answer that ChatGPT gave basically showed that the Mavericks shit the bed. Josh has it on. I will post it in the comments if anybody wants to see it. It was a great, just back and forth. I don't really mind Cuban dunking on journalists. I don't really consider myself a journalist, but it's like, number one, you're clearly tampering with Giannis. That was a frustrating, just blatant, obvious thing. It's like, the Mavericks have no means to get Giannis. Please leave it alone, friend. And it's like, could he please not? I don't want to think about Mark. Just don't want to do it. Just don't want to do it. Not for a couple of weeks. Okay, I've got 3 people waiting. I'm going to bring you all up in order, and anybody else that wants to come up, please click the link in the chat. If you're listening on the podcast, really appreciate your support as well. Coming up first is my man Hyperion. What's up? This is hopefully not too late for you.
Oh, hello, Kirk. No, it's 10 p.m. here in Hungary. Greetings to everybody.
Hello, Hyperion. How you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic. I love that Mike Cuban started to recruiting Giannis Antetokounmpo 2.0 already.
Sure, let's just do it again.
Sorry, come again.
Well, it's he's doing it again, so it's like, let's. Why not? Why not?
I love Mark Cuban as a character, but I have more, and as the years go by and by, I have more problems Mark Cuban, the Dallas Mavericks owner, because he says some things that are just mind-blowingly idiotic. So I love Giannis. I said before, I listen to podcasts, mainstream American sports media like First Take, Undisputed.
Do you like those?
Bill Simmons and all these guys getting on Luka. He isn't in the playoffs. And I see these playoff games, and I'm wondering, which Dallas Mavericks starters with Luka in his whole 5 years would play in these playoff teams, would start. Finney Smith, Dinwiddie, as Josh Bow wrote that fantastic piece, how Dinwiddie and Finney Smith are barely playable in the playoffs with the Nets. They are nowhere playing at a level they played in Dallas with Luka. I mean, Finney Smith is just shooting, couldn't shoot a three. And Dinwiddie was nowhere near efficient enough like he was in Dallas.
It was remarkable. I did not, I have to rethink everything I thought about Dorian Finney-Smith. Everything. And I love Dorian, but I was shocked.
Yeah, I also. And watching the Cavs Knicks, because I just wanted to feel the pain seeing Brunson succeed. And all this, his father was the reason we lost out to the Knicks. Holy, forgive me my wording by cursing, but holy shit, how can Cuban say such things that his father was the problem? So the Cavs team that had so many talent, Mobley, Allen, but their offense was just awful. And I think it's safe to say at this point that Donovan Mitchell isn't a playoff winning player.
What a collapse from that
was
dude.
Just awful. He was just awful in these playoffs. Holy shit. And I think, and I know Kyrie Irving is a fantastic individual talent, but I think Brunson is more of a winning player right now than Irving is. So I think that Brunson has more impact on winning than Irving does. That's my opinion.
I love this opinion, number one, because we can't really disprove it either way. But the thing that I really enjoy about the concept is that quietly, Kyrie really hasn't been a playoff factor since 2017, 2016. It's been a long time. I mean, he argued fairly recently that had Giannis not stepped on his foot in 2021, the Nets would have gone further. But but all we can do is what we have. Man, it's a fun take though. I will simply say that what I just it's not that I wish that we had both, but it's just it still hurts to see Brunson doing what he's doing.
Yeah, but the Mavericks are now in a situation you must overpay for Kyrie. And I think we must pay Kyrie, but I really hope we flip Kyrie for something, because I have no confidence that Kyrie Irving can play a whole season and he can play in the playoffs when it is time, because he will be injured or something. He always gets injured in the playoffs. Since 2016, he always gets injured or something is up with him. So I have this fear that I am okay, you have Luka, you have Kyrie, but then again, you need so much defensively good players around them. So I think you can only build with Kyrie and with Luka if Luka comes back as a more complete player, offensively also, like shooting 80% from the free throw line, a little bit better with catch and shoot threes and all that stuff, and average giving a more effort on defense, have a little better body language. So if Luka comes back as a more complete player and gives more interest in playing a little bit defense, then I'm okay with Kyrie and Luka playing together.
Right.
But I really have to say that my confidence that Kyrie can play a whole season without serious injury. I just have a feeling that when we will be in the playoffs, something will happen to Kyrie, and then puff, the whole. I really think that the Dallas Mavericks have only in this last 3 or 2 years in Luka's contract, they cannot build a true contender around Luka because they made already too many mistakes, starting with the Porzingis trade.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
So
that's...
I think the only option they can do is to build something, and they can say to Luka when his option year is upon us that, look, Luka, we have a team that we can win in the future with. Maybe. I don't think they can build a true contender around Luka in this contract that he signed. Because there are too many cooks in the kitchen, because of the front office is full of people, but Cuban makes decisions, so nobody can really do something. They can only just, look, Mark, we think this is what we should do, and Mark can say, no, I don't like that player. But I don't know.
I like this take. I like the, well, I mean, it makes me sad, but I tend to agree with the take, because my thought process has been, if the Mavericks were to get lucky and jump up into the lottery, the top 4, like the top, because that's the way the NBA lottery works. You can go number. And if that is the case, then that gives them some flexibility.
I think they will get in the top 4.
You like that?
NBA will rig, because they don't want to have Luka out of the playoffs again. So they need to give something to the Mavericks to have a chance to build something with Luka, to have a chance to get into the playoffs.
Well, I mean, we'll see. We got something like 2.5 weeks until the lottery. Just so everybody in here knows, Josh and I will likely hold a live show around the lottery so that we can all suffer in real time. Yeah. So you got anything else for us?
No, I just my heart hurts watching these playoffs.
See, and you're a better man than me, because I'm honestly turning on like the fourth quarter for most games. I'm not watching a lot of it. I need a little bit of a break. I'll watch the second round. Our guy Ben Zadel's waiting to come up. He's a Mavs Moneyball writer, and he's been watching the first round like every game, like a true sicko. And I'm looking forward to hearing him rant about that. So, well, thank you so much for joining us. Hope you come back.
Yeah, I will. Thank you. All the best to you.
You as well. Really appreciate it when folks come in here and help me get this show started. The start of the show is arguably the hardest part, because when you subscribe to the channel, which all of you should, you got to go through a couple of notifications on the YouTube page. Like, you got to click the bell for upcoming live shows. Then you got to click it again to basically be notified on your phone for when everything goes live. It's a little bit more challenging than Spotify Live, but the audio is better and the process is better.
We're driven by the search for better. But when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. If you need to hire, you need Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. Ditch the busy work. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with candidates faster. And Indeed doesn't just help you hire faster. 93% of employers agree Indeed delivers the highest quality matches compared to other job sites, according to a recent Indeed survey. One of the things I love about Indeed is it makes hiring all in one place so easy and streamlined, so I can spend more time on the rest of my business. Leveraging over 140 million qualifications and preferences every day, Indeed's matching engine is constantly learning from your preferences. So the more you use Indeed, the better it gets. Join more than 3.5 million businesses worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent fast. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/Blue Wire. Just go to Indeed.com/Blue Wire right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/Blue Wire. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed.
There's Ben. What's up, man? You are on mute. You have muted yourself.
Now.
There we go. What's up?
Perfect. Oh, nothing much. Just wanting to chat, I guess, a little bit of Mavericks, a little bit of basketball.
You were really angry in our Slack the other day. Something really spurned you. Do you remember what it was? I'm trying to remember what it was, where you're just like, I'm going to write about this. This is an old man.
Oh
take.
My gosh. Yes. It was the little thing from NBA Reddit where they had linked everybody's primary rivals and their secondary rivals.
All right, I'm going to
Let's
see
talk
if I
about
can.
this.
I'm going to see if I can find this while you're talking. NBA
So,
Reddit.
Essentially, I found it on Twitter, so I don't know exactly where it came from. But
I got it.
It was NBA Reddit, and they had the Mavs' primary rival, I believe, was the Clippers, and then the secondary rival was the Suns. And absolutely not, man. Like, congratulations that we recently played them in the playoffs, but like the Clippers have. So everyone's on the whole Kawhi has been injured. Paul George has been injured. What I think everybody's forgetting is that the Clippers are in the middle of one of their most successful runs in their franchise history. They actually made it to the Western Conference Finals a couple years ago, and they've never done that before. So they're actually doing really successful, and they're just nowhere near a rival for the Mavericks. I don't care that we lost to them a couple rounds in the playoffs when Luka. It was one series was Luka's first ever playoff series, and it was in the bubble and weird. The second one was a crazy 7-game series. That took. I don't even know how to describe the effort that Kawhi, like one of 2 or 3 of the best playoff games I've ever seen someone play. So, they're not rivals to the Mavericks. We played them recently. The Suns, same thing. Like, I'm not going to get, like, I don't care about the Suns. Like, I'm sorry to disappoint any Suns fans or anything. That I doubt there's any Suns fans in here, but I don't care about the Suns. They mean nothing to me. I care about the Spurs that won 5 titles when, the Mavericks have only won 1. They're the rivals. Amazing. I don't care that they're down in the dumps right now. I want to be like, I'm really mad. I'm like really mad that they lost to the Spurs in that last game of the season because it really affected nothing as far as the draft stock goes. And, like we had beat them like 7 or 8 times in a row. And like, come on, man. Like, I just want to beat the Spurs over and over again. Same thing. Rockets. They're not as big a rival to me, I guess, but still, I don't want the Rockets to succeed. I think it's funny that they've like missed the playoffs like 3 or 4 years in a row, and that their team's awful. Like, this is hilarious to me. I don't care. So you could get me involved in the Memphis Grizzlies a little bit, maybe the Pelicans because they're in the same division. But like, talk to me when the Clippers and the Suns have won a title, and then like we could be similar on the same level here. I don't know. What do you think?
I mean, the regionality of NBA rivals is what's really stood the test of time. And Mark Cuban argued this a while ago, where he's like, if you look at just based on geography, there's a number of teams in the West that ought to be in the East. And the Mavericks aren't far enough East geographically for it to really matter. Like the Grizzlies probably have the Grizzlies, Pelicans, and Timberwolves have a better case to be in the East than the West does. But it's such a confusing thing. This whole map, and those of you that are watching on video, you can probably tell it a little bit, but like that, and that's really the big challenge is just the fact that the Maverick, the Spurs are it for us. Like the Clipper, it'd be one thing if you just got to have a lot of the same teams playing each other over and over again for real rivalry stuff to work out. And the teams can't shift players. So the Clippers one is at least interesting because the Mavericks and Clippers have had like largely the same players since 2019. But it's not going to work past this year. Yeah. Again, that was a dumb one.
Didn't you bring it up in the group chat that basically the Clippers were only healthy for that one series where they beat the Mavericks, and then since then they've just have not had a fully healthy squad for a playoff series?
Oh, it's just pissing me off to no end. And it didn't occur to me because I have these friends in the national media that don't really view those series as all that important or interesting, but it's because the Clippers never did shit after they beat the Mavericks. Yeah. And it drives me mad because Luka was so awesome. Like there was an asinine comment from I like the guy, but he's a Clippers guy who said, well, Booker was better than Luka was in those playoffs. And it's like, number one, friend, Booker is playing with 2 Hall of Famers. Luka did what he did against the Clippers, playing with, once again, Dorian Finney-Smith and some of these other guys. And I'm just like, what are we doing here? We can't be this prisoner of the moment shit. But and anyways, that's kind of a different conversation. But it's just those 2 series really defined the Mavericks, and no one cares about them because the Clippers died immediately after.
Yeah, the funniest thing, I don't know if you noticed on that little NBA rivalry map, is the Wizards fans voted themselves their biggest rival.
Oh, so let me look at this. Maybe we can switch over Let me do my share screen again. I'm still getting like,
Yeah,
if we had a producer like doing this sort of thing, hopping in and out, but I'm always kind of doing this. By myself. Let's see here. So we have the Wizards. Yeah. Oh yeah.
They chose themselves as their rival.
Yeah. I like that.
Typical Wizard stuff. So it's good.
That's great stuff. Great stuff. Okay. Well, I'm glad you got fired off about that. What else is on your mind recently?
Jimmy Butler is always on my mind right now, I guess, man. Like that guy, that's incredible. I like Jimmy Butler going into this playoffs. I've liked him for like, if this dude can like make me overcome my Miami Heat hatred and have me rooting for him against now I guess it's going to be against my long lost son Jalen Brunson now. Like man, like I hate the Heat. Like I really, you want to talk about like rivals and stuff like that. For me, I guess it again is the Spurs and the Rockets, but it's also the Heat. Man, like it's just fun watching him. He can't shoot until he hits the playoffs. All of a sudden, I think Zach Lowe in his podcast today said something about as soon as it turns to tax day hits, all of a sudden Jimmy Butler's shot returns.
That's a great take because he really is awful at shooting from three.
He's not good, but somehow even when he's not good from three, he still ends up with like 30 points somehow, and it's just he manufactures these buckets. I love watching guys that kind of like Kawhi, that it doesn't really matter where they're at on the floor. They just find a way to get like 28 points and 6 assists and 8 rebounds,
Yes.
So just really fun watching him. And I hope they at least get to the Eastern Conference Finals. I really like Brunson, but I just don't want Knicks fans to experience any success right now. That's just me being petty and bitter.
Sure.
So, and then just I think the Nuggets are going to beat the Suns like in 6. I think the Suns are just a little too discombobulated, and if the Clippers had been fully healthy, even maybe if they had just fully healthy Kawhi, not even Paul George, they probably might have lost to the Clippers. So.
I'm going to be like, I think that Knicks Heat series is going to be a generational rock fight, because what got hidden in the discourse, like the big picture discussions about the Knicks and the Cavs, is that the two offenses were fucking terrible.
Yeah.
Like Brunson was pretty good, but it was like good amidst the sea of garbage. So it's like, what's the compare? And then they're going to go play the Heat, who also have a pretty. It's going to be terrible.
Yeah, they're not exactly a juggernaut. Yeah, no, it's fun. Like for me, I mean, I was really looking forward to a Bucks Celtics Eastern Conference Finals. But I mean, just, how, I don't know, wide open. Everybody says it's wide open. And again, it really is never wide open. But man, maybe this year it really is, because, I again, don't like the Lakers. That's another team. But man, it looks like they could go to the conference finals in the West. So it's just, I don't know. It's a lot of times these playoffs seem really chalky in the NBA. As we know, typically most years, if you're not a 3 seed or above, you're not going to make the finals or even have a chance to win in the finals. But this year that seems out the window. So it's been fun. Looking forward to the second round.
Any Mavs takes on your brain, or are you just kind of looking? Or you?
The only Mavs takes I have in my brain is I keep trying to figure out ways for them to completely just turn over this roster, and it's really hard. So I keep getting kind of stuck. A Kyrie Irving sign and trade seems like a really good way to go, but I just don't know what. I can't, imagine up scenarios. So.
Well, I one of the things I found particularly interesting is our friends over Locked On, Nick and Isaac, are really focused on like the trading of the pick. And I can see, at least on the social media elements, it's kind of like making fans mad, because we hosted a poll at Mavs Moneyball. Do you want the Mavericks to draft someone if they keep the pick at 10, or do you want them to trade it and get a win now player? 2 out of 3 people responded with they want the Mavericks to use the fucking pick, because we're all tired of watching like also rans and guys that were undrafted. We want pedigree talent. And Nick and Isaac have been sharing these different trade scenarios, and they kind of get shit for it, but it makes sense, because I still think their most likely option is they're gonna trade the pick, which I fundamentally drives me crazy that they're gonna trade the pick, but I understand the logic. Like Luka doesn't want no damn rookie.
Right. And you know, like I've said many times, I fall into that camp of like, I'm really not interested in a rookie learning for 2 to 3 years and then maybe eventually being ready. But I don't know what kind of player you get for one first round pick, or even if they involve the one other pick that they can trade. I don't know what kind of player that you can get for those 2 picks and maybe throwing in Jaden Hardy. But if you're going to throw in those 2 picks, you'd probably like to keep Jaden Hardy just to have one viable offensive threat who's under a good contract.
Oh, I think Green goes before Hardy.
Yeah,
because he's going to get his deal. We're too far away from free agency, but he's eligible for an extension, and his deal is going to be really fascinating because fellow friend of the show, Bibbs, Mike Bibbins, did something to the effect of saying during the season he thought that Green is going to get like 4 for 48. Which like threw everyone into like a blind rage, myself included. But then Green actually played well enough to where I thought that would make some sense. And now I'm thinking about it, and I really think they get him at like 4 for 36, like something where it's like 9 to 10 million a year with the scale that goes up. And I think I'd be fine with that because he's a starting caliber player. He is a rotation top 6, top 7 guy. He just has to get better at some things and fix some things.
Yeah, I think if you've got a guy who's in your, like you said, top 8, even top 9, like 9 million is really nothing. So that's what I was thinking, is maybe somewhere along the lines of Maxi Kleber's deal, which I think is like 11 million a year or something around those. Like that's probably on the high side. So yeah, I'd be fine with that because that's really tradable. Because that's really what you want to get. You want these guys to have tradable contracts because everyone gets caught up on cap space and things like that, and it's really just more about, can you, if it comes to it and you need to make some space, can you trade this guy without having to attach a pick? Like for instance, Tim Hardaway Jr. is one of the guys that people really, kind of don't enjoy. But his contract, I think he's got 2 years left, and it gets lower in value every year. And for what he does, he shoots. He
looked good this year. I mean, he was like career low in 2-point percentage because he just can't dunk and make layups to save, like his entire existence. But 3-point shooting, he's still, his willingness to take those shots, it's important.
Yeah. So, like I said, you can trade him. So that's, for me, as long as they lock up Green to a tradable contract, then it's fine. That's good stuff.
Yeah. Well, thank you for taking part of your Friday. You got any thoughts for us before you go?
No. Have a good weekend. Watch some playoff basketball. Go Stars.
You're the man. Talk soon. Ben writes, a ton for Mavs Moneyball, has been invaluable to our team. Grateful to have him. All right, I see Tyron back at it. We're going to get him, and then we're going to go. Ewan is going to close us out this Friday. Ewan, thank you so much for waiting. But Tyron, welcome back to the show. What's up, my guy?
All right, can you hear me this time?
I can. You sound better. Thank you.
All right, awesome. Sorry about that earlier.
This shit, it happens. Sometimes it works remotely. We had a guy in here who was like literally driving his car around and like holding the thing up. I was like, do not crash your car. And it worked fine. So what was the question you were going for?
Well, recently, I guess Greg St. Jean and Christy Tolliver are leaving us.
Is Christy Tall? I didn't know Christy Tall. Shit, you're breaking news here. I knew Greg St. Jean. I missed the Tolliver thing.
Yeah, but I mean, my question is, we have 1,000,001 coaches on staff. What do they do?
Oh, well, it's a great question. Tim Cato wrote about this. And during the season when there was like 9 of them at one point, and when what it said to me, and Mavs Moneyball, we employ. We have like 20-ish people that help out. But there's a hierarchy of like what people do because it's the only way we make it through the season. And I'm sure that they have some official and unofficial responsibilities, but as an outsider, what it looked like to me is that there were a ton of coaches to spread around responsibility so that whenever shit went wrong, you could go, well, it's his fault. It's his fault. It's her fault. There was nobody responsible for anything. They were very, kind of high on their own supply after they made the Western Conference Finals, but I don't know. Like it was bizarre.
Yeah, it's really, really, it's almost embarrassing. Almost. And my other point was, we got this guy from Utah, and I'm kind of like what you said earlier this week. I don't like to speculate on speculations, but it's almost like the Mavericks go and get people that have been, they've done something, or speculatively speaking, they've done something. And again, it's embarrassing. You want to go hire the guy who got fired because he was accused of saying some racial shit? Like, come on.
Right. And I don't know if this was reported anywhere, and I could be speaking wildly out of pocket, but I feel like I heard somewhere that they were considering it 2 years ago because he's been out of the league for a while. And it's kind of like the Haralabob thing where Haralabob was a informal advisor to the Mavericks for a while until they hired him. And I just, there was I talked about this, but so I apologize for repeating myself, but that Kevin Sheridan article in the Dallas Morning News, which basically was like, well, why are you bringing him in? What do the other people do? And that's what kind of drives me nuts because the way Cuban runs the organization is very top down, which I don't hate. But then from the top down point of view, you would expect guys to have like mapped out responsibilities. And that's what we can't figure out. And maybe we don't need to, maybe it's none of our business, but it does present a lot of confusion.
Yeah, it's a really, really bad look. It kind of goes back to the point, well, how come nobody wants to come to Dallas? Well, come on, guys. That has something to do with it. Anyways, that's all I have. I really look forward to the offseason because I like seeing things get shaken up and seeing the different transactions go on and just add some excitement to our seemingly boring team.
Yeah.
But God, we're off to a bad start, Kirk. It's
part of it's the waiting, though. That's the real challenge. Like we've had multiple years. The last time the Dallas Mavericks didn't make the playoffs in a regular year was 2018. We've just had a long time, 2018, 2019. None of us, frankly, the technology, I wasn't good at it then, so we didn't do anything like this. So it's like you get offline. You really just start to spin yourself into a cycle of like concern. And there's not, we'll once the playoff, like the lottery will help suss out a whole bunch of things about whether we need to be extremely negative or whether we have enough stuff to kind of hope and build for the future. That decision tree helps a lot because I've had a hard time even wanting to do shows because it's not, as much as I like speculation, it's almost reckless because there's so many options.
Right. Well, so now we're just playing the waiting game. So we'll see what happens.
You're the man. Thanks for trying to join again. I appreciate you.
Yeah, for sure. See you, Kirk.
Talk soon. Okay, so we're going to go back to Ewan.
Hey, what's up, man?
See, now you're not allowed to crash your car either. what's up?
Sincere trouble with my lady, man.
Yep.
So
what's it?
Yeah, I'm just saying, the city's buzzing right now. I'm in New York City, so it's energy's crazy. All these Knicks fans are crazy. Like, yo, Knicks in 5. It's just funny, man. It's just I have one of my good friends. We in a group chat, and he's a diehard Knicks fan, and he's just like, it's like everything's lining up for the Knicks to kind of do something. Giannis is injured. Mm-hmm. They got eliminated. It's like everything's kind of lined up for the Knicks to try to do something. So he's on a high right now. So I'm just
like the Mavericks last year. Like there's a path. There's a real path. They should be excited.
Oh man, it's so funny. And then they had like a New York Post, I think, or Daily News, one of the two. It was like, who's the top athlete? They had a poll, who's the top athlete in New York City? And they got Jalen Brunson at number 1. Like, come on, man. He's not Aaron Judge. Like, how y'all really just – that's crazy. He ended up being number 1 on the poll. I'm like, come on now. Let's be serious. He's the best athlete in New York City. It's just the Knicks hype when it comes to voting. It's like Knicks fans are really everywhere. Like, they're really everywhere. It's mind-boggling that they have such a
they've been garbage my entire life. Like, ever since John Starks died against Jordan, it's just been bad for a billion years. And yet I saw ticket prices. Friend of mine shared top of the Garden ticket prices for game 1, the next series. 1 seat was $900.
Yeah, the Garden prices.
Holy shit.
The Garden prices, don't even waste your time trying to get, if you're a regular guy like me trying to buy a ticket, and just watch it in the house or to go to a bar in the city to go watch it, because getting the ticket is good. It's a celebrity time. You're not gonna be able to get the tickets. You're not gonna be able to get it. It's crazy. Yeah. But back to like our stuff, watching the playoffs and seeing all these people, like, they talk the talk and then they duck the media after. It's like, come on, man. Like, Giannis not available to speak to the media. Dylan Brooks not available to speak to the media. And it's like going back to Dirk, regardless of what he went through in the playoff, how bad his performance was, how poor he was, especially against the Warriors that year that we lost. Yep. He never ducked the media. He sat and he spoke, and whatever feeling he was feeling, he just sat there. He took the beating. Yep. These guys, these players now, they're just ducking and running. I'm like, come on now, like.
So I have one friend. I have one very good friend who's a Bucks fan. His handle on Twitter is @NoTechBen. He runs this tech blog. He's a crazy Bucks fan though, and he always whines that like Giannis doesn't get enough respect. And yesterday's head patting of Giannis's answer just blew that shit off the water, because I cannot think of another player currently or in the past who could get away with not getting excoriated for what happened, because it's not his fault that they lost entirely. I would blame their coach. I would blame the medical staff for making him sit game 3 when I bet he probably wanted to play, but he still has to wear it. And to kudos to him for being able, like, I'm sure this wasn't on purpose. It's just the way the internet works, where everybody gets together and it's like, oh, what a wonderful answer. It's so great. Hey, yay. And it's like, no, guys, no, they lost. They have to take their fucking medicine and get it and feel embarrassed, because losing as a 1 seed is embarrassing. Full stop.
We got cooked for tanking 2 games when we was out of the playoff contention, and we got cooked. We got roasted for that. Like, so you got to take it. You got to sit there. You got to take the tough questions if it's a tough question, and you just got to answer it, and then come back the next year and be better. In that interview with Rachel Nichols and Dirk Nowitzki, he was saying that when he won the MVP after losing to the Warriors, like that was like one of the most shameful time of his life. He didn't want the MVP because he just got embarrassed. So he's like, I don't want the MVP. Like, that was a bad feeling. But of course, he sat there, he took all the criticism, came back the next year, and he was doing his thing. So it's like, I don't know, these players are just not the same without Luka. Like, and you go back to with the Kawhi and Paul George, like those are the only series that they was healthy for. And he going to war with one game with KP. The next game he got thrown out. That's a game that we honestly should have won.
Then his knee was fucked.
Right, and then that was it. And then the rest is we have Trey Burke as our start. Trey Burke, Holly Stein, Gilchrist.
This is a really different world of players. Yeah.
Like, this is what he was going to war with against Kawhi and PG, and he was still giving them buckets. So we know, like, Luka's an all-time, world-time performer, especially when it comes to, like, a closeout game and a must-win game.
Yep.
He's going to go down swinging. So that's just something that I miss right now in the playoffs. And I mean, lastly with the Knicks, with Jalen Brunson, I mean, I don't got none. I'm rooting for the guy. But every time that we play Knicks in the last 2 years, like, you can tell what they do that affected us, that caused us to lose those games. Their physicality, second chance, rebound. And all Jalen Brunson did was plug himself in that situation. He don't got to worry about nothing. He don't got to worry about doing anything extra. He just got to score the ball. Maybe he makes some assists here and there. But his primary thing is to score. If people watch the game, they can see that this possession where he pounds the rock like Luka. And you don't hear that being, talked about on the media. You don't hear that being discussed. But the Knicks are just, they have the team that's already built. They have the hustle players. They have the rebounders. They have the physicality. They went and got Josh Hart for a bag of chips. So it's like think about these trades that happened, Kirk. They got Josh Hart for a bag of chips. The Lakers got all that for another bag of chips. It's like, it's crazy.
Yeah.
So it's just, I don't know. They just, like I said, I don't know how we're going to be able to get to, this level when we have all those kind of players, those impact players, those dirty players like the Knicks have. But that's what we need. Somehow, some way, that's what we need. And I'm pretty sure the Knicks not going to let Josh Hart leave.
Nope.
Whatever money he gonna get, they probably gonna try to pay him that money. So it's kind of like, I don't know where we're gonna go, but
I don't know either. I've referenced this column a couple of times, but it's primarily because there's just not a lot of content right now. But for D Magazine, I want to say he was an analytics guy, one of their first ones, Brian Damaris, who's occasionally on the broadcast. I don't really know, like, he worked for the Mavs. Now he's like a pseudo media member. I guess he wrote this column where he's like, this is the offseason blueprint, basically what he thinks is going to happen. And he kind of soft sold the fact that he thinks the Mavericks are going to bring back a lot of these guys. And I'm just like, they can't fucking do that. They cannot come back with the same guys. We can't. They have to do stuff. It has to be a wild remake. It happened between 2003 and 2005 with the Mavericks. Wherever it happened again after 2007, after the Mavericks lost in the playoffs that year to the Warriors. You just have to remake your team in a significant way. And I think they know that. I really do. But it was just frustrating to see, because it's like, oh, well, what we're gonna do. And I'm paraphrasing here and I'm being an asshole. Right. But just to paraphrase is what we're gonna do is to consider doing the same fucking thing again. I just can't. I can't anymore.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. Like, even if like we can't get any free agents, and you're thinking like, okay, at least bring back these guys because we're not able to get anybody. I'd rather we cut ties and just maybe try some two-way players, get some undrafted guys, get them going, because I don't want to see Powell again. I'm sorry. I don't want to see Theo again. I don't want to see these guys again that Jason Kidd could look down at the end of the bench and say, you know what? Okay, this guy's playing bad. Powell, get in there for 10 minutes. Like, I don't want that. I don't want that security for J Kidd. I don't want the sense of we're continuing to accept like whatlessness, and that's okay. Like, no, it's not okay.
Yep.
Just get rid of it. Get rid of Powell. That's done and over with. Like, I don't want to do it. Like, give us some new people, give us some fresh faces. Like, okay, we understand that these guys are not it. And like Nico said in this press conference, like, we need more high IQ players. And I've been saying that all year. We need more high IQ players that can do something. Like, looking around at Luka, like, here, Luka, do it. Here, no, like, make something happen. And Powell is not that. Theo's not that. Holiday's not that. Just watch Clean House. Get rid of them. Don't bring them back.
That's right. Well, thank you for closing out the show. Any more thoughts?
Hey, fingers crossed. Hopefully we move up. Oh, one more question. If you move up into like the top 4, right?
Mm-hmm.
And teams normally like trade back, like trade down. Mm-hmm. How does that work? Like, you trade the top 4 pick for like like say the number 15 and 17 pick, like so in that case, the Knicks wouldn't get a pick because technically the top 4 pick is ours. So
yes, that's right. That's right.
Okay,
that's right. I understand your question. If they were to trade back, it wouldn't become their pick because the lot. Yeah, that's a good question. I hadn't really thought of that one.
Okay, yeah. So that might be a route if miracle happened, we end up in the top 4. Maybe they can trade that pick for somebody valuable, and then maybe recoup a pick later on in the first round, and then use that to pick somebody else to fill another need. So. We'll see how it goes.
All right, man.
Who you rooting for? You're not rooting for nobody right now, right? You're not.
I will end up rooting for the Nuggets because Suns fans fucking annoy me. And I think that the Nuggets getting packed by 2 fat white boys in a row would be incredible for the content. I also just it's just. I bitched a little bit about Booker. Like, Booker's just one of these guys who I recognize as like a top 10, top 15 NBA player, but his face, I can't help it. He's like a villain. I don't know. I'm biased.
Yeah, Nuggets win. Luka somehow will party with Joker, and that'll be a nice little pick to see. A nice little, they're good friends, so that'd be good. All right, man.
Have a good day.
Whatever your next show is, we'll be here.
That's right.
Sir.
Okay. I saw a question that I wanted to address before we get out of here. Doe in the chat, longtime listener, occasional guy who pops in here, asked, what do you think of free agent Chris Middleton? I love Chris Middleton. Chris Middleton will never be a Maverick while Jason Kidd is the head coach because Chris Middleton is the one that finally pushed Jason Kidd out. They are not friends, I don't think. So yeah. That would be kind of my take. All right. So future shows, Josh and I will probably continue to record on Tuesday night. You can always hop in here and listen. We don't really do the guest thing, but if you want to participate in the live show, give us comments. It really keeps us going. Really love that sort of thing. I'll probably do another one next Friday, assuming I can get away with it. I've been like moving work around and basically like blocking off this hour, but you never know. I'll try to schedule that a little more in advance so that you can get notified. The final thing is any sort of subscribing to the show, likes, comments, all that sort of thing very much helps us. We're inching towards 1,000 subscribers, which is not, a big deal relative to like the audience that the show has, but it's helpful to me. So I would very much appreciate if you could do that. If you haven't already, though, I assume everybody who's already down here, the comments, the likes, all that sort of thing. It boosts, when people search stuff. I have to get better. Obviously people pointed out better camera, working on it, thinking about it. Life just keeps happening, better background. We'll keep working on those sorts of things as well. If anyone out in the universe has any experience with thumbnails and making those sorts of things that we could use, like kind of an interchangeable group, reach out to me. I could use the help. I just don't really know what I'm doing. This is a lot of fun. All right, guys, we will talk with you soon. Thanks for hanging out. Happy Friday and go Mavs.